Joining me is writer and broadcaster Esther Krakue. Esther, always a delight to speak with you. Leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, has launched his own DOGE-style department, and I am shocked about some of the things he's found that taxpayers are being forced to pay for with regards migrants. He's discovered the British public are footing the bill for asylum seekers to enjoy golf trips, circus tickets, and Netflix subscriptions. Just take us through some of these findings.
Yeah, so Nigel Farage has launched this sort of Doge-style section of the party, which is being led by Zia Youssef. And I'm sure that these latest discoveries are just the tip of the iceberg. So in Kent Council alone, you have about 2,500 unaccompanied children that are asylum seekers that are being treated to circus trips and golf trips and, gifts from Amazon and Curry's PC World, all on the taxpayer's dime. And this number of unaccompanied asylum seeker children has gone up quite significantly in the last year alone. I'm assuming because they believe that Keir Starmer's Britain is a soft touch. And that's a trend that you can see reflected across the entirety of the numbers of people coming across these boats. I mean, in the last year alone, since Rishi Sunak transferred power, that number has increased by 40%. 40% more of these people are coming across on these small boats in Keir Starmer's Britain, even though he kept raging on about smashing the gangs. And in England, more broadly, you're seeing about 7,300 of these unaccompanied minor children that are falling onto the responsibility of these councils. And they have to not only take charge of their education, their housing, but things like this, taking them on trips and making sure they're comfortable and happy. And many people are asking, the government is bending over backwards to find ways to cut some of the fat off the public purse because we're living beyond our means. And yet you have people that have no business being in the UK. I mean, it's pretty abhorrent that anyone would put their child, their unaccompanied minor child, which if we're to believe that is true, because many of them destroy their documentation upon entering the UK, that we don't have enough money and resources to take care of our own population. And people can put their children on these boats, pay people smugglers upwards of £3,000, and yet they're entitled to all these things like using the NHS, free dentist visits, housing, education, all of these things that even British people are struggling to have access to. And this latest revelation, I'm telling you now, I promise you, is just the tip of the iceberg. There are going to be so many unedifying revelations that are going to come from this, because many of them are being done or discovered through freedom of information requests, which we as the British public have a right to ask for and to have access to all this knowledge. So, Nigel Farage is about to uncover a lot of these unsavoury aspects of public spending, and just to show the extent to which this crisis is really just got out of hand.
Well, while we're on the subject of migrants, the UK's Home Office is under fire over its visa program. The government has promised to cut back on the number of migrants coming to the UK, but they're providing skilled work visas for diversity and inclusion experts, as well as for poets and bloggers. Esther, this just beggars belief.
Yes, if you are ever in any doubt that this government has no idea what it's doing, this is probably a prime example. I mean, the government only came out and started balking about reducing the numbers of worker migrants into the country after net migration hit 1 million people in the space of just over a year. And yet to say that and then still have visa exemptions for diversity hires, some of whom, I kid you not, within the NHS are commanding a salary upwards of £100,000, it really does beg a belief. Why do we need to hire more diversity and inclusion employees from outside of Britain, no less? I mean, the whole role is ridiculous. But the fact that they're creating exemptions for that and for poets, as opposed to, for example, doctors and construction workers, it just beggars belief. Another thing that they're trying to get around, which they can't, is about 1/3 of the migration figures that you're seeing into Britain, only about 1/3 are actual workers. So for all the people that are saying, oh, they're coming here to work and we need them and all of that, only less than 1/3 of them are actually coming here to work. Many of them are coming with their families who are basically dependents of these people, many of whom don't actually meet the threshold where they're actually net contributors. So regardless of how you look at it, they are draining more resources from the British state. And yet there's been nothing on this from the government. Instead, they're just trying to trim around and work around the edges and remove things like florists, but they're keeping diversity workers as people that can actually get work visas in the country. It's ridiculous.
Oh, come on, Esther, you can't have too many diversity officers in a country. Where would the West be without diversity and inclusion officers. Just quickly, moving from migration to anti-Semitism, the UK's anti-Semitism problem has been laid bare with a new government-backed report revealing anti-Semitism has been normalised in much of the middle class across Britain. The report showed Jewish people in Britain were suffering increasing prejudice, and it's become prevalent in the NHS, universities and in the arts. We've only got about a minute left, Esther, but how's the government reacted to this report that anti-Semitism is so widespread amongst so much of the British community?
Well, I'm sure they're not going to be surprised. What's really quite interesting is when this particular surge of anti-Semitism has happened, and it was really in the immediate aftermath of the October 7th attacks, which is quite baffling. I mean, we've seen it all in our streets in the capital in London of people saying that they're anti-Israel or anti-Zionist protests, and yet they're intimidating Jewish business owners. Jewish business owners are having to close on Saturdays, which tends to be a quite busy day for businesses. We've seen it with the sort of anti-Israel chants. We've seen it with the BBC and Glastonbury. So it's not coming as a surprise. It's just the timing as well. And bear in mind, this report was a cross-partisan report. So it was done by two leading members of both main parties. And they're both coming to this conclusion that they're basically gobsmacked by the extent to which anti-Semitism has been normalised in Britain.
Yeah, well, that's what makes the report so startling, and the shock of those who conducted the report at just how wide anti-Semitism is. I note they'll be presenting recommendations. We're going through a similar process here, having had recommendations presented to our Prime Minister. We're waiting to see what action, if any, he will take. And it's interesting that the UK are going through a similar process as we are here. Esther Krakue, always a delight to speak. Thanks for your time.